Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on today's video and welcome to my channel. Today's story is from AskAManager, where individuals reach out to Alison Green and ask her about advice regarding their situations at work, and Alison gives some really good advice. In today's story, OP reaches out to Alison because they did a DNA test and they found out that the CEO was their brother. And then the CEO proceeds to lose his mind. It's honestly insane. Luckily, it does end on a semi-positive note, so do stay tuned for the update to find out. I do hope that you enjoy this story. If you do, please leave a thumbs up. And before I move on, I just wanted to take a second and thank all of my subscribers. Thank you so much, you guys are so wonderful. For those that are new here, if you do like my content and would like to support me, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. Anyways, thank you so much for your time and on to the story. A DNA test revealed the CEO is my half-brother, and he's freaking out. My dad gave the whole family DNA ancestry kits for the holidays, and it turns out that the CEO of the company I work for is my half-brother. Dad isn't the kind of guy to gift everyone DNA kits as a way of telling us that he had a secret love child, so I don't think that he knew that he had another kid. We're all grown-ups and know where babies come from and that things aren't always what we expect, so I have a feeling that this is a shock to everyone. The CEO's company bio says that he's a proud Texan born and raised. Dad was stationed in Texas 10 years before he met and married my mother. The timeline all fits, and so do the genes, I guess. None of my siblings have initiated contact, and neither has Dad. I've met the CEO a few times, but he works out of the corporate headquarters across the country from the smaller division where I work. About a week after I got my results, an email was sent out from the head of HR stating that all staff had to take a refresher training on nepotism. The training also included a new clause that said something like, "Staff are not entitled to privileges, personal or professional, if familial relations by genes or marriage to executive or management staff is known or unknown or discovered during employment." Other than being chunky verbiage, I felt like it was aimed at me. I found out that no other branch had to retake the nepotism training, and the email only came to our office. My manager later pulled me in personally to ask if I had any questions about the policy. She was vague and uncomfortable, and I said that I wanted to know why nobody else was brought in one-to-one to talk about the policy and why no other branch had to do the training. She just kind of ignored the question and said that she was just following instructions. So now I think that this was aimed at me. I'm happy to drop the whole thing. I'm sure that he feels as uncomfortable as I do about this, but to weaponize HR and make my coworkers waste a whole day on mandatory training just to put up a boundary seems messed up. A simple personal email of, "Hey, I saw this, I don't know what to make of it, please give me some space and don't bring it to work," would have sufficed. Even ignoring it would have been fine with me too, since I wasn't sure I wanted to be the one to initiate a conversation about this without having talked to my dad first. Dad has gotten his results back, obviously, and he's avoiding the conversation. This is a big elephant in the room, made a little harder by the fact that I work for this guy. What bothers me the most is that weaponizing HR with the intent to make sure that I know not to ask for perks feels a little messed up. I've been with the company for 5 years and have a great reputation. At least I did. So what do I do? Alison asked OP, "So to make sure that I understand, would the CEO have been alerted to these results too and been able to see your name and connect it to you? Is the company small enough that he'd even make that connection?" To which OP replied, "Yeah, the company has about 200 full-time employees, mostly in our 2 states. He follows a lot of the employees on LinkedIn and I'm in a marketing role, so my team is in touch with corporate a lot. I've only met him in person a few times, but some projects bring me into close proximity to him and his direct staff. The DNA test has an app and you can get notifications regularly via email and push notifications on your phone if you opt in. I have no way of knowing what he opted into, so I assume that he didn't know until the weird training. He has now blocked me on LinkedIn and all social media, and has blocked all of my siblings and my parents. I think that the jig is up. How do I make sure that my job is secure? Oh no, what a situation. And what a reaction from the CEO. I mean, yes, this is awkward, but to handle it via a nepotism training, targeting only your office and pointedly reminding you that you're not entitled to any special privileges, including, quote-unquote, if a familial relation is discovered during employment, and then having your manager do that weird one-on-one meeting with you to make sure that you didn't have any questions, as if you were about to start demanding a raise and a promotion and your own private bathroom because you share a father, without even talking to you first. I don't want to come down too hard on him because he's obviously freaking out, and who knows, he might be reeling from learning someone he thought was his father is not his father, and maybe he sees you as the walking embodiment of that. But that is a bit bananas. I think that you've got two options. The first is to ignore it. Demonstrate through your very pointed lack of response and lack of requests for special treatment that nothing has changed on your side at work. Figured that maybe his frenzy of self-protective activity will die down in the next few weeks as he adjusts to the news. The other option is to send him a note that says something like, I want you to know that this isn't something I plan to follow up on in any way, and as far as I'm concerned, it's your private business. Please don't worry about it coming up at work. The tricky thing, of course, is that a note could make things worse. And now you're confirming that you've got the news too, and you're speaking of it, which can upset people who are working hard to forge boundaries against ever discussing a thing. Or it could make things worse. If he's been worried that you're going to show up in his office wanting to bond as siblings, or that you'll gossip about the situation at the office, here's assurance that you're not. It could set him at ease. There's no knowing. The flip side of that is that if you ignore the whole thing, there is no guarantee that will set him at ease either. He could remain horribly uncomfortable and look for opportunities to push you out, or might hold you back professionally. Like if you're up for a promotion that would have you working more closely with him, will he squash that? Will he subtly discourage others from working with you? Reveal the discomfort when your name comes up, which makes other people assume that there's something unsavory about you. He seems so freaked out right now that personally, I'd go the note route. I just feel better having said something, but that's not necessarily the right course of action. In theory, a third option could be to talk to HR and tell them that you're worried about the repercussions to the CEO's discovery. Interestingly, there's a law that could be in play here, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, GINA, which prohibits employers from discriminating on the basis of genetic information, including information about an employee's genetic tests or the genetic test of a family member. GINA would make it illegal for the CEO to fire you based on what he's learned. HR could presumably care about that. In reality though, if the CEO wants you gone for personal reasons, it's probably going to happen at some point. And even if it doesn't, there are still ways for his discrimination to harm your career, even if he doesn't intend it to. See the examples above? Honestly, I'm sorry to say it, I'd start putting out feelers at other companies. I'm not saying to quit tomorrow. You can give this some time and see how it plays out, but you've been there 5 years. It's not an unreasonable time to start looking around anyway, and it wouldn't hurt to have already done some groundwork if you do realize at some point that you're better off moving on. My short update is that he 100% tried to fire me. The long update is complicated, but this month has been unbelievable. Just after my question was posted, my boss, Katie, met me and told me that she was aware of the situation and didn't agree with how the CEO and HR had been handling it in regards to the nepotism training. I told her my only plan was to forget about it for the time being, and she supported that. She told me to come to her if anything changed. Things were quiet for a week until a major project that I was working on was deleted from the company drive. It was a coincidence that I had backed it up onto a USB. Katie was suspicious about my project getting deleted and told me to save everything on an external drive and my hardware. And sure enough, the project got deleted again. After that, anything I put on our work servers was getting deleted within hours, as well as any correspondence with clients or my team members. I started sending all of my work communication and attachments to Katie and duplicating them on a USB that Katie kept locked in her office. It was like a James Bond movie. After a mid-month project meeting where I showed up with all of my work on a USB drive, HR pulled me in because an quote-unquote anonymous concern was raised about me hiding my work from my colleagues and tried to write me up. Katie must have known something like this was coming because she handled it and BCC'd me on all of her correspondences with HR and the executive team, outlining her concerns about the CEO and HR's behavior regarding the DNA results, and that she believed someone was remotely accessing my work computer to delete things. The company vice president was horrified. Up until this point, I didn't know that CEO wasn't the owner of the company. Katie and I had a call with the vice president that day, who assured me that the owners were being made aware of the situation and that my job was not in jeopardy. The vice president also apologized for the write-up attempt and for someone obviously remotely accessing my work hardware. That was on a Friday, and my attempted firing was the following Monday. CEO's mom contacted Dad on the home front as all this was happening at work. I won't go into what she said, but the gist is Dad was set up as an unwitting donor for a childless couple. As a family, we decided to support Dad and just drop it because we didn't ask for the complete Jerry Springer package. We just wanted to know what part of Ireland Grandma was from. The Monday after Dad spoke to CEO's mother, I was walking through the lobby when HR literally ambushed me and loudly fired me in front of a client and like 20 of my colleagues. Security escorted me out in front of my friends and colleagues who had no idea what was happening, so that was pretty dark and humiliating. Katie stopped me on the way to my car and brought me back in for a video call with her, the vice president, and the owners of the company. I explained what had happened since I got my DNA results back, the nepotism training, and editing as much of the personal stuff as I could for my dad's sake, but the whole thing was humiliating. I was unfired but asked to turn in my badge as both CEO and I were suspended pending a full investigation by the owners and their lawyers. I was suspended with pay, which HR vehemently protested against. The suspension lasted a week and I had planned to spend that time looking for another job, but I just didn't have it in me. CEO did not return after the suspension. I was offered my job back with an apology, but opted not to go back either and have been freelancing and taking some downtime because the last month has sucked. I did accept a generous severance package, so at least they tried to do the right thing. While some of this sounds flippant, there have been a lot of tears and stress and freaking out because this was a lot. I don't like being under a microscope at work or feeling like I'm in quote-unquote trouble, so it was really increasing my anxiety. I was also hurt because I loved that job and my team, and being marched out by security felt awful. Dad feels guilty that this turned into me almost losing my job, but none of this is his fault at all. In all of this, I have to say that the people that I resent the most in this situation were the two goblins in HR who knew they were doing the wrong thing every step of the way and openly enjoyed the drama of it all. Rumors have reached me that both people in HR are connected to CEO in some way, like former college friends or exes or something. I wish them the future they deserve. So guys, what do you think about this? Honestly, this story sounds absolutely insane, but I cannot imagine all of the stress and trauma that OP went through during this whole situation. And although a part of me does understand that the CEO's world was probably turned upside down by this revelation, I do not in any way agree with the way that he decided to handle the situation. Like having someone hack into OP's laptop and delete files, just so that he could get a reason to fire them was insane. Who does that? Oh my god, he went completely insane. But I also do want to shout out to OP's boss. They were amazing. She was so awesome and she handled it so well. I'm glad that OP did get a generous severance package, and I hope that they're able to find a new job that really suits them. And I do wish them the best in the future. Anyways, I'd be really interested in knowing what you guys thought about this. Please let me know in the comments down below. If you did like this, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a thumbs up. And please subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories from Reddit with updates.